And a half after murdering a young woman in Bend, the killer admits to the murder.
This morning, 32-year-old Edwin Lara pleaded guilty to aggravated murder in the death of 23-year-old Kaylee Sawyer.
She has four younger brothers who desperately want their big sister home.
Today, we don't celebrate the end of this tragedy because it's not over for Kaylee's family. Today is the 548th day
Kaylee Sawyer entered the world on March 2, 1993, in the quaint town of Bend, Oregon. At just 23 years old, she radiated brightness and cheer, embracing every moment with a smile. In this serene corner of the city, she shared an apartment with Cameron Ramhofer, a relationship that seemed picture perfect. Cameron had won over Kelly's parents, solidifying their bond. Initially, Kelly aspired to be a photographer, showcasing her talent and ambition. She had grand dreams for her future, full of promise and potential. But then, she landed a job as an administrator at a dental clinic where she showcased her remarkable skills. Before watching, we would like to know your opinion. What crimes scare you the most? Write in the comments. Kelly had a unique ability to connect with each patient, soothing the fears of those who dreaded the dentist's chair. As she worked alongside the doctors, she realized her own aspirations. She wanted to become a dentist, feeling a deep sense of calling. People placed their trust in her, unafraid to seek treatment for their teeth. On that fateful Saturday evening, July 23, 2016, at around 8 o'clock, Kaylee Sawyer and a friend ventured to a bar in the city center, unaware of the events that would soon unfold. It was a night filled with laughter and celebration, a bachelorette party where colleagues gathered to honor one of their own. The atmosphere was electric as they danced, raised their glasses, and shared in the joy of the occasion. Most of the attendees were middle-aged, and as the clock struck 10:30 p.m., the festivities began to wind down, with guests trickling out one by one. But not Kelly and her group of younger friends. They craved more excitement and decided to venture to another bar. There, the night took a turn as they indulged in more drinks and danced with abandon. Amidst the revelry, a stranger began to flirt with Kelly, an encounter that did not go unnoticed. Cameron's friend, ever vigilant, sent a message to him, alerting him that Kelly was at the bar, mingling with someone else. It was past midnight when the tension began to rise. A guy named Cameron, fueled by anger and perhaps a bit of alcohol, found himself in a precarious situation. His girlfriend, Kaylee, had called him, her voice laced with the fatigue of a long night and the need for comfort. But as he arrived to pick her up from a restaurant where she was surrounded by friends, the atmosphere shifted. Kaylee, having indulged in too many drinks, was caught up in conversation with another man, igniting a spark of jealousy in Cameron. The ride home was fraught with conflict, their words sharp and cutting. By the time they reached their apartment, the air was thick with dissatisfaction. Cameron stormed out of the car, leaving Kaylee to grapple with the aftermath of their fight, her footsteps trailing behind him, unwilling to let the night end in silence. She lingered in the car, trying to gather her thoughts, to cool the tempest brewing inside her. Meanwhile, the man awaited her return in the apartment, but 10 minutes ticked by with no sign of her. Just then, Cameron's phone buzzed with a message from Kelly. Her words dripped with regret as she apologized for her earlier outburst and bid him farewell. Confusion washed over him as he raced back to the car, only to find the front passenger door ajar and the vehicle deserted. Panic set in as he dialed her number, and her voice came through, calm yet distant, explaining she needed to take a walk to clear her head. She cautioned him that her phone was about to die. As the night deepened, the battery on his phone dwindled and the connection faded into silence. Cameron, gripped by a sense of urgency, made the assumption that Kelly had sought refuge at her friend's house, a mere 6 kilometers from campus. He slid behind the wheel, the engine humming softly as he drove, his eyes scanning the darkened road for any sign of her. But the shadows held no answers, and the girl remained elusive. The night stretched on, and despite his desperate search, she was nowhere to be found. The phone calls went unanswered, and his girlfriend's voice echoed in his mind, claiming she hadn't seen Kelly. Doubt crept in as Cameron considered the possibility that Kelly had simply left with friends, destined to return by morning, unaware of the growing storm of worry that surrounded her. After sobering up, he returned to the apartment and crawled into bed. But when morning broke, he noticed something was amiss. No phone, just a cascade of unanswered voicemails. A chill crept over him as he realized this was not her typical behavior. Panic set in as he reached out to her family, inquiring if they had any idea of Kelly's whereabouts. Her parents, equally concerned, revealed that she hadn't called them either, but they held on to the hope that she might have simply spent the night with friends and would soon return. Desperation mounted as Cameron began dialing every friend and colleague he could think of, but each call only deepened the mystery. No one had seen or heard from her. They were left in a growing void of uncertainty. In a moment of desperation, he reached out to the police, reporting Kelly's unsettling disappearance. They arrived at Cameron's door, listening intently to his account, but their response was lackluster. After all, she was just 23, a young woman capable of vanishing without a trace, or so they thought. With no sense of urgency, they dismissed his concerns, convinced she would return on her own. But as the hours turned into a day, and still no sign of Kelly, the reality began to sink in. She was known for her unwavering dedication to her job, never one to miss a day without reason. It became painfully clear. Something sinister had befallen her. Only then did the police finally shift gears, launching a search for the missing girl. In a tale that twists and turns like a dark alley, everything felt off-kilter. Jealousy hung in the air as he watched her leave with another man in a car, a gnawing suspicion creeping into his mind. Then, as if scripted by fate, Kelly's phone died, plunging the investigation into deeper shadows. Cameron, the last person to capture her on video, found himself ensnared in a web of intrigue, his narrative raising more questions than answers. When summoned for questioning, he recounted his story with unwavering consistency, eager to assist the authorities. He opened the doors to his apartment and car without hesitation, even joining the frantic search for the missing girl. Yet, despite his cooperation, the specter of doubt loomed large over him as he navigated the treacherous waters of suspicion and scrutiny. In a twist of fate, the lie detector test cleared him, leading to the dropping of all charges. Yet, the police couldn't shake the feeling that the man who had flirted with her might hold the key to her disappearance. They set out to uncover his identity, scouring for witnesses who might have seen their interaction, perhaps a fleeting exchange of phone numbers or a whispered agreement to meet that fateful night. The investigators eventually tracked down this elusive figure, only to find him inebriated, his memory clouded by the haze of alcohol. He stumbled through his recollections, unable to recall her name or number, adamantly claiming he had never crossed paths with her again. The mystery deepened, leaving more questions than answers in its wake. The police canvassed the homes of all her friends and relatives, searching for any trace of her whereabouts. What they discovered was chilling. Kelly's car, abandoned, and left with a friend from Perry's bachelorette party. It was clear she hadn't returned to retrieve it, raising the unsettling possibility that she had vanished without a trace. Her phone, too, was untraceable, adding to the mystery. That night, the investigators followed the likely route she might have taken, desperately seeking any clue signs of a struggle, blood, or footage from surveillance cameras. But the night yielded nothing, leaving Cameron and the others in a haunting silence, grappling with the unknown. In a desperate bid to find their missing daughter, parents and friends plastered the city with leaflets bearing her photo, flooding social media with pleas for information. Then, in a twist that would change everything, a rookie police officer named Isabel Lara stepped into the station with a chilling revelation. Her husband, Edwin Lara, a college security guard, had been acting strangely after his night shift on Sunday. He returned home late, his demeanor unsettling, as if a heavy burden weighed on him. Finally, the truth spilled from his lips. In that fateful night, something sinister had unfolded. On that fateful Sunday, July 24, a tragic incident unfolded. A young girl, walking innocently along the roadside, met a horrifying fate when she was struck by a work vehicle. The driver, claiming she was intoxicated and stumbled into the path of his car, insisted he had no time to react. But the chilling details didn't end there. In a moment of panic, he confided to his wife that he had hidden her body, her belongings tucked away in the barn of their home. When the police arrived at Edwin Lara's residence, they found he had already vanished. Yet, their search yielded unsettling discovery as a woman's handbag, filled with an assortment of small items and cosmetics, hinted at a darker narrative lurking beneath the surface. In a chilling scene, shoes lay abandoned, strands of light hair clung to the ground, and a large bloody stone caught the eye of investigators. The sight was shocking, especially as the bloodied items hinted at a darker truth. It became evident that these belonged to a girl, and the circumstances surrounding their discovery were anything but accidental. Edwin, in a hushed tone to his wife, revealed his suspicions. The stone was likely the weapon used to inflict harm, perhaps even to take a life. Yet, the girl's body remained elusive, vanishing without a trace. The police scoured the house and its surroundings meticulously, but their efforts yielded nothing further. It seemed clear that Edwin had not merely fled. He had concealed the evidence, likely transporting the body away in his vehicle. In a chilling twist, the car was declared wanted, but Isabel's silence spoke volumes. Fear gripped her heart, compelling her to shield her husband from the authorities. She feigned support, all the while knowing the danger he posed. Days slipped by as she bided her time, and when she finally mustered the courage to approach the police, he had vanished into the night. The clock was ticking, and with each passing moment, the chances of finding him dwindled. When the investigators pressed her for leads, Isabel revealed a haunting possibility his parents resided in Los Angeles, a city that could easily swallow him whole. He sought refuge, slipping away from their grasp as the police made their way to Los Angeles, California, neighboring state that held secrets of its own. Along the route, they stumbled upon his abandoned car, a vessel of mystery filled with strange notes, cryptic numbers, and heartfelt apologies for his actions. The detectives delved into the contents, but the clues led them nowhere. The car bore no signs of an accident, and with each passing moment, the realization dawned upon them. They were on the right trail. Twin was headed to his parents, while Edwin's phone remained untraceable. And in the shadows, Twin continued his dark descent into chaos. After his escape, he committed unspeakable acts, abducting yet another young victim, a 19-year-old girl named Andre M.S. He observed her as she finished her shift at the store, slipping into her car with an air of routine. Her attention was absorbed by her phone, oblivious to the world around her. In the shadows, he moved silently, opening the passenger door and sliding into the seat beside her. The atmosphere shifted as he brandished a gun, the cold metal glinting ominously in the dim light. Fear washed over her as he issued his chilling demand: take him to California. The tension thickened, a moment suspended in dread. Andrea's heart raced as she listened to his chilling confession. He recounted the moment he revealed his dark intentions regarding Kelly, even producing a photo of her that sent shivers down her spine. The headlines screamed of his notoriety, branding him a wanted kidnapper. He spun a tale of misfortune, claiming his car had broken down while he plotted his escape from the city, his eyes scanning for the next unsuspecting victim to whisk away to Los Angeles. He chillingly admitted to contemplating the abduction of a pregnant woman, his mind swirling with horrific possibilities. But fate had other plans. He found no pregnant women in sight. Instead, his gaze fell upon her, alone in the dimly lit parking lot, and in that moment, he made his decision. Andrea was the ideal choice for the role of the girl, embodying a chilling reality that was both terrifying and unsettling to hear. She fought to maintain her composure, battling the instinct to panic in a desperate bid for survival. Hours later, Edwin, her captor, deemed her driving too reckless, a potential beacon for law enforcement. With a cold command, he ordered her to pull over and switch to the passenger seat. Handcuffed to the car, she felt the weight of her predicament settle in as he took the wheel. In that moment, she understood that her only chance lay in earning his trust, and she voiced her understanding, a calculated move in a deadly game of survival. Her car was leaking oil, a fact that loomed ominously over their journey, It was clear they wouldn't make it to Los Angeles in such a state. The girl suggested he take another car, hoping to escape his grasp, but that plan quickly unraveled. They stopped at a gas station and a diner where he issued a chilling command. She was to remain silent, to avoid conversation with anyone, or face dire consequences. "I will kill you, and anyone you speak to," he warned. Andrea complied, her silence a desperate act of survival. She tried to convey her distress through her demeanor, but the world around them remained oblivious to the dark reality unfolding in their midst. As night fell, the tension thickened in the air. Edwin, with sinister intentions, had set the stage for a horrific act, but the girl, sharp and perceptive, sensed the danger lurking in the shadows. It was then that Andrea, a beacon of hope, devised a clever plan. With a subtle flick, she activated the alarm on her phone just as they crossed the threshold into the room. The moment Edwin began his relentless pursuit, the shrill sound pierced the silence. Panic gripped him. Paranoia took hold as he feared the long arm of the law was closing in. He was convinced he was being watched. Yet, Andrea, quick on her feet, spun a tale of a mere notification or reminder for medication. Curiosity sparked in Edwin as he inquired about her supposed ailment, unaware of the trap that was being set. She revealed her secret, a venereal disease. And just like that, Edwin was gone, leaving her in silence. They lay on opposite sides of the bed, the tension palpable. The kidnapper had done his work. Chains and handcuffs bound Edwin, who tossed and turned, unable to find solace in sleep. Panic gripped him, a relentless fear that the police were closing in. Meanwhile, Andrea lay still, praying for his slumber, for a chance to escape. But the moment was fleeting. Edwin bolted from the bed, grabbing a disposable phone, his voice rising in Spanish, words that slipped past her understanding, a frantic call for help in the dark of their confinement. Andrea felt the urgency in the air as they sped away, the weight of their situation pressing down on her. The car's oil began to boil, a sign of impending disaster, and Link's anger flared. He turned to his hostage, his voice sharp with frustration, insisting they needed to find another vehicle. In that moment, all of Andrea's hopes for a release shattered. She had clung to the idea that he might leave her behind with the car, but the twin had other plans. As they drove, they spotted a model nearby, surrounded by several cars, and pulled up. The door to one of the rooms stood ajar, revealing an elderly man busily loading his belongings, oblivious to the storm brewing just outside. From the dimly lit room, he stepped into the open car, a decision that would seal their fate. The kidnapper, gun in hand, loomed over the elderly man, demanding the keys with a menacing glare. Panic surged as the man cried out for help, but before he could finish, a shot rang out, echoing through the air. In that moment of chaos, the kidnapper seized his hostage and sprinted toward the gas station, the sound of sirens growing closer. Miraculously, the elderly man survived, finding refuge at the gas station where fortune smiled upon him. A car with open doors awaited. They jumped in and sped away, but not without the looming threat of 3 pursuing vehicles hot on their trail. In a chilling turn of events, 3 children found themselves in a harrowing situation. Behind the wheel was a 17-year-old, a fresh license holder, navigating the roads with a mix of excitement and trepidation. But the thrill of the journey was abruptly shattered when Edwin, armed and menacing, threatened the young driver, compelling him to flee from a gas station. As the story unfolded, it revealed that this car was not just any vehicle. It belonged to a family traveling from Canada to the USA, caught in a nightmare they never saw coming. As the parents stepped out of the gas station, a chilling realization struck them: their car, with their children inside, had vanished into thin air. Panic surged through their veins as they dialed the police, desperation clawing at their throats. He refrained from commanding the children to toss their phones out the window, a move designed to evade tracking. Instead, he chillingly declared himself a dangerous criminal, capable of ending their lives at any moment. The children huddled together, fear etched on their faces, the older brother gripping the steering wheel with trembling hands. In that tense moment, the teenager, with a calm demeanor, managed to persuade them to release their hold, all because of the allure of the wine that lingered in the air. He acknowledged that the children posed a threat to his carefully laid plans. recognizing that they would become vulnerable targets for the police to track down, and he accepted this grim reality. He abandoned the children on the roadside, their small figures fading into the distance as he sped away with Andrea and the twins, leaving behind a scene that would haunt them all. A palpable sense of panic gripped the air. In a twist of fate, one child clung to his phone, a lifeline in the chaos. As the others dialed their parents, a sense of urgency filled the air. Soon, the parents arrived, accompanied by the police, ready to rescue the frightened children from their harrowing ordeal. The children trembled in fear as they recounted their harrowing tale, claiming they had fallen victim to a sinister criminal who had abducted them. Unbeknownst to them,
Hi everybody, I just want to say that I apologize for everything I've done. Most likely I'm going to get caught, and sorry about that girl.
the girl was not just a mere bystander. She was his captive, ensnared in a web of darkness. The children recounted chilling tales of his confession to the murders. The police pursued the kidnapper's vehicle, unaware of the chilling truth that lay ahead. In a moment of desperation, Edwin found himself on the run, fully aware of the gravity of his choices. Stealing a car with the kids was a decision he would soon regret as the sirens of justice drew closer. With the weight of his actions heavy on his conscience, he turned to his phone, capturing a video confession as they sped toward California. In it, he expressed remorse for the crimes that had led them to this perilous path, urging the girl to share their story with the world. It was on her Facebook, a chilling subtitle, "Killers on the Loose." The tension escalated as he grew increasingly paranoid, claiming he heard helicopters closing in. But Andrea, trapped in the car with him, saw and heard nothing but the pounding of her own heart. She prayed silently, desperate for him to release her from this nightmare, and pressed the gas pedal harder, the speedometer climbing higher. I thought for sure a police car would catch up with them soon. They sped past a patrol car in hot pursuit, and before long Edwin was apprehended. Andrea, in disbelief at her newfound freedom, stepped out of the car only to find herself in handcuffs as well. The nightmare was far from over. They were both ensnared in the web of chaos and fear. Both were taken to the station, where the police initially suspected her of being his accomplice. They searched her thoroughly, interrogating the girl who had endured the unimaginable horror alongside him. She had to prove her innocence despite the fact that he had kidnapped her and held her hostage. Andre had no desire to be with him. She had not gone of her own free will. After a harrowing 18 hours, she was finally released. A police officer from the town of Bend, who had been searching for him due to Kelly's disappearance, learned of his arrest and made his way to the police station. In the heart of California, the interrogation unfolded like a chilling tale. Edwin, under the weight of scrutiny, recounted a bizarre twist of fate claiming she was still alive, perhaps due to a chance encounter with a squirrel or a car. He confessed to smashing her head with a rock, a desperate act to silence her screams. But the police, armed with evidence, found no signs of an accident on the vehicle. In a sudden shift, Edwin altered his narrative, suggesting he had merely intended to pick her up. He labeled her a girl of easy virtue, yet this assertion crumbled under the reality of the area, where no such girls roamed amidst the drunken students staggering home. The layers of his story peeled back, revealing a web of contradictions that only deepened the mystery. After parties were a routine part of campus life, and students often found themselves being escorted home by campus police. On the night of Kelly's disappearance, one officer recounted a chilling tale that seemed all too plausible. He was patrolling the college area in his work vehicle, ensuring order, when he spotted a young woman clearly intoxicated and struggling to walk. He stopped, offering her a ride. Kelly, seeing the uniform of a security guard, believed she was safe and accepted his offer. Little did she know that trust would lead her into a nightmare as he turned from protector to predator. He strangled her, then delivered fatal blows to her head with a rock, a chilling act that he had long contemplated. Inspired by the infamous serial killers that haunted the pages of crime lore, he spotted Kelly alone on the road that fateful night and knew she would be his first victim. His dark ambitions didn't end there. He had been plotting other murders simultaneously. Initially, he was reluctant to reveal the location of his heinous act, but eventually he marked the spot on a map where he discarded her body. When the police discovered her remains, They were mutilated beyond recognition, a haunting testament to the brutality that unfolded in Kyiv. The cause of death was a head injury inflicted by a blunt object, leading to charges of murder against Kelly. The accusations didn't stop there. They included attempted murder of a man, rape of Kelly, kidnapping of Andrea, and carjacking. Transported to Oregon, he faced the looming specter of the death penalty. During the trial, he claimed he requested to call his lawyer, only to have that request denied. Yet, the police had been waiting, offering him the chance to contact legal counsel. He insisted that his lawyer was already present, implying he would represent himself, but later he retracted that statement, leaving the courtroom in a tense silence. In a chilling turn of events, the confession of murder made during the interrogation was cast aside, leaving the prosecution with the daunting task of proving that it was Edwin who had taken the life of Kay. Despite the weight of the accusation, a trove of evidence loomed large. In the shadows of his barn, incriminating traces of his DNA were discovered, alongside the haunting words of his wife, Andrea, who recounted the chilling details of Kelly's murder. The prosecution, relentless in their pursuit of justice, aimed for nothing less than a life sentence without the possibility of parole for Edwin. Yet, in a twist of fate, Edwin struck a deal with the prosecution, confessing to the murder and attempted crimes that would forever alter the course of his life. In a chilling tale of betrayal and violence, Edwin Lara was convicted of murder and kidnapping, yet he steadfastly refused to admit to the heinous act of rape, even when faced with the prospect of a life sentence. The court's decision was swift, handing down 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Meanwhile, the family of Kelly, the victim, sought justice through a lawsuit against the college, alleging negligence on the part of their security guard. They claimed the institution failed to properly vet Edwin, neglecting to inquire about his psychological evaluations and other critical information during the hiring process. This oversight allowed him access to a weapon, handcuffs, and a bulletproof vest tools he would ultimately use to commit his crimes. The lawsuit concluded with a settlement of $2 million, a grim reminder of the tragic events that unfolded. In the aftermath of this chilling incident, a thorough background check was initiated at Glow College for all security personnel. Psychological evaluations were implemented, and the security policy underwent a rigorous tightening, ensuring that such a breach of safety would never happen again. Edwin Lara was behind bars, but the trace of his horror lingered on the faces of Andrea and those who once stood by her. She emerged from this captivity not as she was before, but alive, thanks to her intelligence, coolness, and endless instinct for survival. The story ended as nightmares end. Suddenly, in the half-light of sirens, with her breath half in her chest, and only silence remained, in which the main thing is heard. Not everyone can be trusted, and it is possible to save oneself even when there is no hope anymore.